I don't want to spend a lot of time on this topic. Unless you do, I'll let you do the talking. I just don't have a lot to say. We're going on to Kingdom Hearts 4. It's such a big game. I felt like I had to say something. I'm not going to give a bunch of 2 cents. The only thing I'll just go first because I really don't have a lot to say. First of all, I thought they were done with Sora, but I guess they were like, no. I don't know Kingdom Hearts. Again, I have a vague idea of a lot of the story things, but I thought they were saying they were ending story. I guess they're not. I know that a lot of people really didn't like how he basically just looks like a Final Fantasy VII Remake character. I'm going to say, not an avid fan of the series. I actually really like the look. I do.
Yeah.
That being said, does it lose its unique charm? Abso-fucking-lutely. But I think he looks really good.
Yeah, so the thing with me is whenever I explain how, like, Kingdom Hearts as, like, a game series is, I always say that it's a Disney game with Final Fantasy characters tossed in.
Okay.
With this new game, it looks like it's a Final Fantasy game that's going to have Disney characters thrown in.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yes.
Because it looks like they're, because to go with what you're saying, like, yeah, that's probably why a lot of people are pissed off about it, is because up to this point, with Kingdom Hearts 3, I would say had started to kind of get away from the whole Disney aspect of it and more Final Fantasy aspect in terms of the way characters look. That's what it was up until that point, and people sort of fell in love with the way that these characters looked and how goofy they were, and now they're getting to the more realistic tone, and just like people are probably just like, that's not. It's like, that's not our Sora. Another thing.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
This is
you.
Another thing that people were kind of speculating about, that I'm also kind of thinking about, is like how whenever you go to different worlds in these games, you always kind of take on the look of the characters in that world. Yeah. So some people, including myself, are theorizing that that's just how Sora looks in that world. And
there's real world, I guess.
Yeah, and there's going to be more worlds that kind of change his look more so than how he is in that one. Like, that one's just like the Final Fantasy real life looking world, so he just looks more realistic in that one than others.
I did want to add one thing. I will say this. As, again, somebody not super avid in the Kingdom Hearts, I'd really like to stream them sometime. I really would. And I was playing the first one, like, last year, and I know I would have loved these games as a kid. They definitely have flaws. I'm playing I was playing through the first game a little bit. I didn't get super far. And I was like, I would have fucking loved these as a kid. I will say that. Because I definitely feel the childhoodness, like,
Yeah, and a lot of the people that really love these games that are so pissed off about it were also people that grew up with it. So that's also extremely understandable as well. As like, you grew up with this character and all of a sudden he's not himself anymore. So like,
I'm trying to find screenshots of the trailer because I don't know if I could play the actual trailer, and I keep finding this one derpy fucking picture of Sora. He's like, ugh.
I do know that there is some things that I don't know about it because I haven't played the third one. And apparently there's characters in the trailer that are from, like, the game that was on mobile, I think. Okay. So I would need to play or at least watch cutscenes from those ones.
Here, I'll do this.
To understand what's going on more, as opposed to just kind of speculating and guessing. Because I don't know the ending to Kingdom Hearts 3, so I can't weigh in on that. The whole like Sora being gone thing and then actually being here still, I can't weigh in on that as much as other people can.
In regards to the game looking more Final Fantasy, not so much the look. I will say this one thing that I was disappointed to learn, because I'm gonna lean more on Final Fantasy characters than Disney characters, personally.
In terms of what you like?
Yes. I have heard, and I think I've just confirmed this myself, but you can also confirm that as the series goes on, they lean more towards focusing on having like Disney cameos and characters as opposed to like Final Fantasy. Because I thought it was really cool in the first game where I'm seeing Cloud and Squall and whatever, even though they don't always have the names, and the people from, Aerith shows up and stuff. And then by the third game, from what I can see, it's just like all Disney characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, because I know they end up getting their own original characters, and that's what I sometimes think with Kingdom Hearts. I'm like, maybe they overcomplicated it. Maybe they need to understand that when people were kids, they just loved the novelty of seeing Disney characters cross over with Final Fantasy, and sometimes they take the story and things a little too far. And this, I'm hoping this is, people watching this trailer and they're like, why doesn't it make sense? I get to the end of the trailer. I think it's at the end of the trailer. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember where it is, but I think it says, made by Tetsuya Nomura. And it's like, when are you people going to learn that anything that he touches it's always an interesting concept and then gets fucking confusing at the end? Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, when people say the story good, I always say, like, well, the stuff from the original game is good because the game's original story is good. But then the end game stuff, I'm like, they're like, it's different. How's it different? Is it good? They don't want me to spoil it. And I'm like, well, it's interesting. I don't know if it's good because they didn't finish it. And then
it's not done yet. Yeah.
And then the next game comes out, though, and it's always more confusing and disappointing. Like, that happens all the time with Kingdom Hearts, and it's happened with Final Fantasy 15 had the same problem where it's like, the story's really, really interesting, and then near the end game stuff is kind of like, oh, that was kind of, what's going on, and two, that was disappointing. Even though it's a really, it's a great game, but
yeah, Kingdom Hearts is definitely one of those game series. Yeah, where you have to play all the games to get what's going on, and like all the side games included. Like that's one of those things where it's like the jump from the first game to the second game makes no sense. So what did they do? Oh, they have the game that's in between it that shows what's going on, and it's like, what if I don't wanna? Like,
so the red-haired girl in the trailer is the one from the mobile game.
That's what I've heard. Yes,
I'm looking at her face right now. So. Well, anyways, I don't know how long that took.
Overall, I'm excited for the game. I gotta play the third and everything in between before that one comes out. But
I'm sure if you don't 100% it wouldn't take very long.
No, but I'm currently playing through Kingdom Hearts 2, so it's gonna take some time.
Oh.